Something major coming up. A documentary about P. Diddy, Puff Daddy P. Diddy. Yeah, did he actually do it? I know you've been real active on social media talking about it. He did it. What made Diddy, the mighty mogul of the music world, collapse right in the center of the courtroom just seconds after 50 Cent took the stand? The room went completely quiet, all eyes locked on the man once viewed as an invincible icon. Whispers spread instantly, but no one dared make assumptions. A sudden jolt, crushing weight, or a secret dark and dangerous just sparked. As 50 Cent's name echoed through the space, the air seemed to thicken. This man, once a friend, once a rival, now stood firm, his gaze icy, hands holding what might be the key to everything. Over 2 decades, hidden stories, secret parties, and rumors of power and betrayal had lingered between them. Did 50 Cent really carry evidence, fragments powerful enough to rattle an entire empire? The sound of a chair falling, heavy breaths, and the non-stop flash of cameras filled the room. Diddy, who once stood at the top, now lay motionless, like the truth itself had taken him down. Questions flew through everyone's minds. What just came out? Would 50 Cent's testimony flip everything? Was this the reckoning, when the curtain of silence would be ripped open, exposing the deepest parts of an era soaked in power and shadows? Has made Sean Combs a little uneasy to me on that. When you said, yeah, he looked like the gay homie, I didn't know what you meant then. He was like, yo. He's like, yo, so when we're gonna get the time to, to chill, like just hang out? We gotta go. Okay, you're telling me we gotta chill. He was like, yo, why don't we just go shopping? I mean, like, I'll pay for it. And I was like, this. As 50 Cent walked up to the witness stand, the courtroom vibe got tense. The judge raised an eyebrow, her sharp stare tracking every move. Sean Combs, known as Diddy, was whispering with his legal crew when he suddenly looked up, his face pale like he saw something shocking. His hands, usually steady while taking notes during the trial, now shook uncontrollably. 50 Cent, without even glancing at Diddy, sat down with a firm expression, his eyes locked on the space ahead, like bracing for a moment he'd long expected. "I'm here to speak the truth," 50 Cent began, his voice calm and steady. The judge nodded, signaling him to go ahead. From that point, the courtroom seemed to flip a new chapter. What 50 Cent was about to drop wasn't just gossip or stories spun by the media. These were pieces of evidence he'd quietly gathered for over 10 years, carefully and patiently waiting for this moment. Diddy's lawyer jumped to his feet, voice sharp, arguing that 50 Cent wasn't on the original witness list and questioning how relevant this testimony really was. The prosecutor, calm and collected, explained that a set of newly surfaced evidence was directly tied to allegations of extortion and serious misconduct. After a short sidebar chat, the judge made his decision, his voice firm. "Objection overruled. Mr. Curtis Jackson, please continue." The courtroom got so quiet, even the soft hum of the air conditioner above became clear. Reporters in the front row, pens ready, kept their focus on the witness chair. Diddy's family, standing in support, exchanged nervous glances, hands clenched tight. 50 Cent adjusted the mic, his gaze holding on the jury, his voice low but heavy. "What I'm about to share isn't based on gossip or hearsay. I have proof. Her recordings from 2003 that I've kept for more than a decade." A ripple of murmurs gently moved through the room. Diddy's lawyer started to stand up again to object, but Diddy, face tight, placed a hand on his shoulder, signaling him to stay quiet. He seemed to know what was coming and prepared to confront it. The prosecutor stepped forward carrying a laptop and multiple hard drives, placing them on the table like vital puzzle pieces. "Your Honor, these recordings have been verified by 3 separate audio experts. They are authentic, untouched, and directly back the testimony of multiple victims," the prosecutor said. The judge glanced over the files, nodded, and said, "Proceed." Cent took a long breath, his eyes showing both determination and a bit of regret. "I've held this in for way too long," he began, his voice carrying the weight of someone who's seen too much. "I built my own music empire, launched hit TV shows, and ran companies worth millions, but none of that erased what I witnessed, what I experienced, and who caused it all." He tilted his head slightly toward Diddy, his gaze filled with obvious disappointment. "It was you." He went on to explain how it all began with what looked like a harmless invite, passed through music industry contacts, a chance to network at one of Diddy's over-the-top parties in the Hamptons. Back then, I was still kind of new to the scene. Getting invited to Diddy's party was a big moment. I'd heard all about those events, so I didn't think much of it. But when I walked into that huge, tucked-away mansion behind locked gates and tall walls, I felt something was off, 50 Cent said, his voice dropping like he was pulling the listener back to that moment. Inside, security was everywhere, checking people's phones at the door. The vibe felt strange, folks tense, eyes avoiding each other. Loud music blasted, drowning out voices. Just steps away, 50 Cent noticed small cameras sneakily hidden in the decor. They said it was for safety, to protect celebrities, but I felt something else, like they didn't want anyone knowing what was really going on inside, he said, his eyes distant like replaying the weirdness of that night. As he moved deeper into the place, the crowd got smaller. Doors were guarded by tight security, checking every name. That feeling of being watched never went away. After a few drinks, Diddy suddenly walked up to him. 50 Cent recalled Diddy's words, his voice low but firm. "I decide who rises and who falls in this game. Everyone here knows that." Diddy's smile, 50 Cent said, had zero warmth, more like a reminder of power. At that point I was still building up, after the shooting that nearly ended me, 50 Cent continued, voice full of steady strength. I wasn't in a spot to fight someone like Diddy, but I also wasn't going to let anyone run me. So from that night forward, I started taping everything. He explained how he first used a tiny recorder hidden in his jacket, later upgrading to better gear. I didn't have a clear reason back then. It was just a way to keep myself safe. If anything went wrong, there'd be proof. The judge cut in, calm. "Did you have consent from those on the recordings?" 50 Cent answered, "In New York, where most were made, only one party has to agree, and I did." He added, "Besides, these weren't private chats. They happened at big events." Diddy's lawyer jumped in, saying the tapes broke privacy laws. The prosecutor argued they showed illegal activity, which overrode any privacy issues. After thinking it through, the judge ruled that the recordings tied directly to criminal claims would be allowed. 50 Cent kept going, saying he'd handed over hundreds of hours of tapes to investigators 3 months ago, right after seeing the video of Diddy attacking Cassie in a hotel. That video confirmed what I'd known for years. It wasn't a one-off, it was a pattern, he said, his voice heavy with meaning as the prosecutor moved to play the first clip from August 2003. Diddy started to sweat, his shaky hand gripping the water glass his attorney handed him. The audio crackled from the speakers, slightly fuzzy but Diddy's voice clear. "No one leaves until I say so. No one denies me. Got it?" A shaking female voice responded, "Please, I just want to go home." Diddy pressed on, "You'll leave when I'm finished. That's how this works." 50 Cent explained that it was during a party after the 2003 MTV Awards. He was in the adjacent room, overhearing the interaction. The girl was a model brought in by one of Diddy's people. She tried to leave, but he wouldn't allow it. Another clip from 2007 played next, Diddy's voice cold. "I own everyone here. I built you, and I can break you just the same. Don't cross me." 50 Cent recognized some background voices as artists from Bad Boy Records, recounting how Diddy lost it when someone questioned his creative authority. It was during a recording session. He didn't just threaten careers, but their safety too. 50. Cent said, his voice mixed with frustration and strength. Each clip felt like a puzzle piece, slowly revealing a portrait of dominance and fear lasting a decade. One from 2012 caught Diddy discussing something he called a special party for the weekend. "Collect all phones, set everything like usual. Double the count from last time, make sure everyone signs NDAs before coming," Diddy instructed. Another voice asked about exclusive guests, and Diddy replied, "They don't have an option. If they want to keep working here, they follow instructions." The courtroom grew heavier. Diddy slouched in his chair, eyes lowered, sweat collecting on his brow. His lawyer kept objecting, claiming the clips were out of context, but the judge allowed the trial to continue. A clip from 2016, just weeks before the Cassie incident, shocked the room. Diddy's voice cut through. "She's acting too bold, thinking she can decide things without me. I need to remind her who's boss." Another man asked, "What you gonna do?" Diddy answered, tone chilling, "Whatever I must. She knows. What happens to people who disobey me?" Silence fell as the recording ended. A few jurors shifted in their seats, visibly uneasy. Cassie's lawyers exchanged quick glances, scribbling down notes rapidly. 50 Cent explained, voice heavy with guilt. It was a private dinner at Diddy's house, maybe 6 people. Diddy was talking about Cassie when she wasn't present. He had a hidden recorder in his watch, sensing something was off but unsure how to step in. The prosecutor asked, "Did you try to warn Ms. Ventura?" 50 Cent nodded, his eyes filled with regret. "I tried reaching out through mutual people, but Diddy had her fully isolated. I feared what he'd do if he found out I was helping her." The recordings kept playing, laying out a history of manipulation, threats, and shady moves. They backed up the earlier victims' statements, turning whispered claims into solid proof. As the clips played, Diddy breathed hard, his face red, hands twitching while he loosened his tie. His lawyer looked concerned, whispered to him, then stood and told the judge, "Your Honor, my client isn't feeling well. We ask for a break." The judge nodded, granting a recess. The room stayed tense, all eyes on Diddy, who looked like he was crumbling under the weight of his past. But suddenly, Diddy jumped up, legs wobbly, then dropped to the ground. The courtroom burst into confusion. Staff ran to his side, trying to help as whispers spread like wildfire. The judge calmly called for order, instructing security to clear space and call for medical help. Diddy lay there breathing hard, face pale, eyes squeezed shut like he was battling with himself. 50 Cent, still seated on the witness stand, watched, quietly. His stare filled with a mix of sadness and strength, looking at the man who once ruled the music world now lying still in front of him. The next day, court resumed under tight tension. Diddy returned but looked drained, eyes hollow, shoulders slumped. A medical report said he suffered from extreme stress and dehydration, but was fine to proceed. His legal team requested a delay, but the judge denied it. "We will move forward as planned." All eyes turned to 50 Cent as he took his spot on the witness stand again, ready to keep going. He began, voice quiet, eyes distant like he was back in time. "In 2009, I followed Diddy to a private corner during an event in New York, thinking it was to talk about a business deal. But what I saw stuck with me." He paused, taking a breath, his voice shaking slightly. "There were young girls there, some looked like they might pass out, eyes blank, clearly uneasy. I recognized a few from music videos, others just looked lost, unsure how to leave. And Diddy. He stood there controlling it all like it was the most normal thing in the world." 50 Cent kept going, his voice steady but weighed with regret. A few days later, he got a call from an unknown number. A cold voice warned, "I know what you saw. Keep quiet if you still want to win." Then they hung up. He paused. His gaze swept over the jury, like he was urging them to feel the weight. Of that moment, I thought it was just a casual threat until an anonymous box arrived at my house. Inside was a USB stick. I hesitated, but eventually opened it. "It was video from that night," he said, his voice thick with sorrow. "I don't remember walking into that room, but there I was in the footage, standing in the far corner, silently watching." Then Diddy's voice came from behind the camera. "Now I've got something to keep everyone in check. That's how we stay aligned." The fear I felt was like nothing I'd ever known. 50 Cent sighed, his eyes showing a deep inner turmoil. "I realized I wasn't just invited. I was placed in that moment as a way to be controlled." From that point on, he started carefully recording everything tied to Diddy. "Not just to shield myself," he said, his voice steady, but for those without a voice, with no strength to push back. "I figured if I gathered enough proof, maybe one day, the truth would come out." The prosecutor played more recordings ranging from 2010 to 2020, each revealing a new layer of how Diddy maintained control over artists, staff, and close associates. A 2014 clip played. Diddy's voice was icy. "Money's not enough. Cash can disappear. Fame won't hold either. It fades fast. The trick is to have something over everyone. That's real control. 50 Cent explained, voice quiet but loaded with meaning. That mindset was behind everything Diddy did. He didn't just want success, he wanted to dominate people, make them too afraid to ever push back. The prosecutor asked about specific instances involving those affected. 50 Cent named a few major artists who faced pressure or saw Diddy's actions, but stayed quiet out of fear. It wasn't just what he did, he said, his gaze sweeping across the courtroom. It was how he made folks believe they could be next. Rumors spread. Who lost their spot, who got pushed aside, who suddenly disappeared from the scene. No one dared speak out in that kind of environment. He detailed how Diddy used kindness, fancy gifts, expensive trips, to make people feel important, then suddenly bring up what happened to those who pushed back. The message was always there. This could be you, 50 Cent said, his voice edged with frustration. The tapes caught chats about paying off people, scrubbing evidence and sinking stories to keep Diddy's image clean. The jury listened closely, some scribbling quickly, their eyes showing discomfort. Diddy stayed still, gaze forward, sometimes whispering to his attorney. After what happened the day before, he seemed to be burying his emotions, his face unreadable. 50 Cent pressed forward, his voice dropping as he explained why he waited 10 years. I needed hard proof, he said, his eyes locked on the jury. If it was just me talking, I knew I'd get ripped apart, but when that video of Diddy hitting Cassie came out, I couldn't keep quiet. That could have been anyone, even me. He shared the backlash after he started turning down Diddy's offers. Radio stopped spinning my records. Old friends went quiet. Rumors started that I was bitter, that I was hating. I knew it was his way of pressuring me without saying a word. 50 Cent gave a tired smile, explaining how he quietly built his own road, TV projects, his liquor brand, to escape Diddy's grip. The prosecutor then played a 2019 clip where Diddy said he thinks he's untouchable now, but nobody's immune. 50 Cent said, as I got stronger, he went after easier targets, people with less reach, less voice. But he never forgot I pushed back. When Cassie spoke out, 50 knew this was bigger than just one story. I realized how many others were scared, he said, his voice heavy. The prosecutor asked what finally made him go to the feds. I stayed quiet for 10 years, telling myself it wasn't my fight. But when that hotel clip dropped and a friend told me Diddy's team was trying to bury it, I couldn't take it anymore. He described a long, sleepless night, haunted by old parties, threats, and crushed careers. I called the FBI, told them I had stuff from way back. I was ready to talk. Looking at the jury, voice solid, he said, I'm not just a witness. My silence made me part of it. I'm here to fix that. Then turning to Diddy, 50 Cent's tone sharpened. You built your empire on control, called it family, but you trapped everyone close to you. Diddy didn't react, his stare blank. 50 Cent stood firm, eyes strong like he was saying the truth, no matter how buried, was finally here. As he got ready to leave the stand, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a small worn object, a mini tape recorder long outdated. He held it up, his eyes locked in, voice ringing through the court. This was the first device I used to record back in '03 when I started realizing what he was up to. It reminds me that unchecked power causes deep damage. He turned to the jury, eyes serious, like he was trying to pass on something bigger. This isn't just about parties, or me, or one tape, he said, voice full of years of reflection. It's about a system that hides abuse, keeps people quiet. If we don't face it, it keeps hurting the ones who can't fight back. Then he looked Diddy straight in the eyes, full of fire. You said no one could stop you. But truth can. 50 Cent stepped down, grabbed his stuff, looking tired but firm, ready to move on. Diddy sat frozen, his face pale, body stiff, hands slightly shaking on the table. For the first time in a decade, he didn't seem to own the room. The prosecutor stepped up, voice calm but direct. Mr. Jackson, based on what you've seen and recorded over 10 years, do you believe Sean Combs is still a threat to others? 50 Cent responded right away, voice unwavering. As long as he's got influence, money, and connections, yes. The network that props him up still remains. Those who supported him are still in charge, and many victims are still trapped in fear. As 50 Cent stepped off the stand, Diddy suddenly stood, his eyes filled with panic. Security guards moved quickly, alert, but before they could react, his eyes rolled back. His body wobbled and he hit the floor. Murmurs erupted, the courtroom slipping into chaos. The judge, voice calm, demanded order, calling in medical help and clearing the space. Paramedics stormed in, lifting Diddy onto a stretcher, his face blank, breathing shallow. His legal team clustered around, their eyes filled with worry while reporters rushed out, scrambling to capture the final image of Diddy being wheeled out. Outside the courthouse, a crowd had gathered, news of 50 Cent's testimony spreading rapidly. As he stepped out, the air went still for a moment, then applause broke out, spontaneous and genuine. 50 Cent didn't react, his expression thoughtful, walking straight to the waiting vehicle with his security crew nearby. A reporter shouted, "Do you believe justice will be done?" He paused, turned, and replied in a low, clear voice, "That's not up to me, the jury decides." The car door shut and he drove away in silence. Though he'd left the stand, 50 Cent didn't wear the look of a winner. He looked like someone who'd just laid down a decade-long burden, his shoulders still heavy with painful memories. Inside, the courtroom's tension stayed thick, like no one knew what to do next. Some jurors wiped away quiet tears, their eyes shining with emotion. The judge, while composed, couldn't hide the thoughtful look on his face. Before collapsing, Diddy, for the first time in the trial, seemed speechless. Outside, 50 Cent dodged the media, offering no waves or photo ops. He strode through the main doors, head held high, but his eyes showed exhaustion, like he carried the weight of unforgettable years. When asked later, he only said, voice heavy with sorrow, "There's no relief here, only the truth, and it should have been told long ago." Beyond the courtroom, the music industry started to shake. Label executives called emergency meetings, freezing projects linked to Diddy. Those who once backed him publicly now spoke cautiously, showing concern and pulling back. PR firms sent out internal notes, telling clients to stay quiet online. Old clips resurfaced, interviews where Diddy's words on power and influence now sounded eerie. Photos from his parties were re-examined, the strained looks on young artists taking on new significance. Allegations once dismissed as gossip were now seen with new seriousness. Fans were stunned, not just by the claims, but that someone like 50 Cent had silently carried this weight for so long. They wondered why real concerns were once ignored, hidden beneath the industry's shiny surface. Diddy stayed in the hospital for 3 days after his second collapse. His legal team tried to toss the trial, citing medical reasons, but the judge denied it, saying, "The trial continues next week, with or without the defendant." Leaked medical reports said Diddy suffered from severe stress, high blood pressure, and an irregular heartbeat. Some called it a sympathy ploy, while others believed the stress from his crumbling public image had taken a real toll. Meanwhile, 50 Cent faced both praise and heat. Many applauded his bravery for speaking out despite the risks, but others questioned why he waited so long with years of recordings. In a rare media comment, 50 Cent said honestly, "I needed enough proof to not be brushed off." One clip can be twisted, but 10 years of recordings tell a solid story. Legal experts weighed in. Lawyer Marsha Johnson noted, "These tapes not only back the victims' stories, they also show a steady pattern of behavior."